It wasn't long after the funeral for film legend Gene Hackman that another shocking event unfolded. Leslie Hackman, her father's daughter, was attacked by an unknown assailant in their father's. Unlike previous attacks, this one seemed to be motivated by a desire for Leslie's life, rather than property or anything valuable in the villa. This attack wasn't an isolated incident, but rather a pivotal link in the web of mysteries surrounding G. Hackman's death. The unusual circumstances surrounding the attack left few clear clues, but it did raise a number of concerns regarding the assailant's actual goals. Was this an impulsive assault, or was there a message intended to forewarn Leslie? We will explore these questions further in today's video. The testimony of Jean Hackman's relatives is at odds with one another, and the public continues to debate the supposed cause of her death, old age and illness. Official reports indicate that Hackman suffered from Alzheimer's disease in his latter years, which severely impairs a person's cognitive ability. Patient's cognition and memory, but his daughter, Leslie Hackman, quickly stepped out to deny the report, stating categorically that her father was perfectly fine, fully conscious, and not exhibiting any symptoms of dementia. This discrepancy begs the question, is someone attempting to skew the facts or cover up a conspiracy? As the investigation into Gene Hackman's death delves deeper, numerous peculiar details start to surface. In most cases involving celebrities, surveillance cameras help verify the truth. However, in this case, all the footage vanished without a trace, leading investigators to speculate that either a targeted attack occurred or that someone within the family deliberately deleted the footage. What's more, Jeannie Ann Hackman's family members' reactions add more suspicion. His eldest daughter swiftly confirmed that her father suffered from Lizzie Hackman, has maintained that her father exhibited no symptoms of dementia or other neurological disorders, while her sister has maintained that he was fully lucid. The public is now wondering who is telling the truth and who is attempting to mislead them. What's more concerning is that if G. Hackman did in fact have Alzheimer's, then any legal documents he signed recently could be considered invalid, which would have a direct impact on inheritance rights, wills, and other financial concerns. But if he wasn't sick as Leslie says, why did his oldest daughter confirm it? What's more, there's reason to suspect foul play. Just before Jean Hackman died, the security camera system was turned off. This couldn't have happened by chance. A top-notch security system like the one at Jean Hackman's villa wouldn't abruptly stop functioning unless someone intentionally tampered with it. Whoever could have done this would have had inside knowledge or access to the system. After Jean Hackman's funeral, Gan Hackman's second daughter, Leslie, was attacked by an unknown assailant inside her father's house. There was no sign of robbery or missing property, leading many to speculate that Leslie herself was the intended victim of the attack rather than any property. This theory is further supported by the fact that Gan Hackman deleted footage from security cameras, further adding credence to the idea that he planned to die naturally. Could this be a warning meant for her? Or maybe the perpetrators wanted Leslie to keep quiet about her father's death. When the police arrived, they found signs of a struggle, but no clear evidence of who had attacked her. During questioning, Leslie gave a detailed account of the attack, saying that a stranger had emerged from the shadows and was moving swiftly and forcefully, indicating that he was no ordinary thief. Notably, he had no intention of robbing or taking anything valuable from the house. The only person he targeted was Leslie, who was knocked to the floor by his powerful lunge. Leslie fought back, causing a brief but fierce struggle. She claimed that the assailant didn't say a word during the confrontation, but there was a brief moment when he paused, seemingly deciding whether to continue or not. Then, out of the blue, he released her and ran away into the night, leaving no evidence of his attack. This detail is important because if it had been a robbery, the assailant would have taken property. However, the fact that he didn't, Leslie immediately contacted the police after the incident. Upon arrival, investigative heirs noted signs of a struggle, but could not find clear evidence to identify the assailant, such as blood, unusual fingerprints, or any objects left behind as evidence. Despite Leslie's minor injuries from falling to the floor, there were no signs of a murder attempt, suggesting that the assailant did not intend to cause serious harm to her life. His decision to release Leslie and Flea suggests he did not want to escalate the situation. The police also questioned why the security camera system had been disabled just before the incident. It seems like someone had planned ahead, understood the house's security system, and knew how to hide their tracks. One of their initial theories was that this could be an attack involving property disputes within the Hackman family. Nevertheless, there were no signs that Leslie had been threatened before, or that anyone in her family had openly clashed with her, which further complicated the case. Another possible avenue of investigation could be to look into Gene Hackman's relationships before he passed away. Maybe there were people or groups he had worked with, and Lizzie unknowingly learned something important about them. If this is so, then the attack could have been a warning not to investigate her father's death any further, should she have found out anything about him. Investigating her father's death and wanted to find out more before going to the police? Or does she have another role to play in this case? There are a lot of mysterious details surrounding G. Hackman's death and Leslie Hackman's attack, so it's important to ask, who's behind all of this? One prominent theory is that these aren't just two separate incidents, but rather part of a larger. Gene Hackman was not only a well-known film actor, but also a highly influential figure. His roles in films that expose political and social secrets have led many to wonder if he became involved in any risky relationships outside of the film industry. Several unconfirmed reports indicate that Hackman conducted independent investigations into sensitive topics, which could have made him a target for certain groups. Various documents that were made public also point to this possibility. Based on what the FBI has uncovered, it seems that Hackman, who was notoriously private and who shied away from Hollywood scandals, had some inner turmoil in his life. He reportedly became much more wary of speaking out, telling a close friend, "There are things that should not be said, but sometimes the truth needs to be exposed." This statement suggests that Hackman may have harbored a significant secret, one that he knew would be dangerous to reveal publicly. There have been several unnatural death cases involving individuals who attempted to expose the inner workings of underground power systems. One such case is that of Gary Webb, a prominent investigative journalist who exposed the link between the CIA and drug trafficking organizations. Webb was discovered dead with 2 gunshot wounds to the head, and although his death was officially ruled a suicide, many believe he was murdered in order to silence. Another case is that of Michael Hastings, an investigative journalist who exposed scandals in the U.S. military, who tragically lost their lives in a car accident that has sparked widespread suspicions of remote manipulation. If Gene Hackman had in fact uncovered a secret involving underground financial organizations, a political scandal, or even a government conspiracy, his demise could not have been accidental. Instead, those responsible could have taken advantage of his advanced age and health to make his death appear natural. On the other hand, if someone in his family, particularly his sister Lizzie, had uncovered something, she could have become the next target. The most troubling aspect of this theory is that the attack on Leslie occurred at the same time as the one on Gene Hackman. If the assailant's goal was to murder her, Hackman had plenty of time and opportunity to carry it out. Instead, he merely threatened her life, raising eyebrows. This could be because the group behind the attack wanted to avoid public scrutiny, or it could be meant to discourage Lizzie from looking into her father's death. Regardless, the fact that the security system was disabled prior to the assault suggests that the perpetrators were not random. It's possible that someone with knowledge of surveillance technology or connections within the Hackman family may have been involved in this incident. Another theory to consider is whether there are family secrets or conflicts. For example, according to Leslie, G. Hackman showed symptoms of Alzheimer's, but his eldest daughter claimed otherwise. This discrepancy isn't just a question of memory or opinion. If Gene Hackman was actually healthy, why would he have been unwell? Was there an internal plot to change the will or gain control of his assets? If G. Hackman was officially diagnosed with dementia, his last decisions could be deemed invalid giving someone in the family a chance to enrich themselves at his expense. In this light, Leslie may have found evidence of changes to her father's legal documents, making her a threat to those who wish to hide the truth. The attack could be an effort to intimidate her or even to stop her from speaking out.
X. Exempt her from the investigation.
A property dispute is a typical reason for family cases to arise. It's undeniable that Hackman was a top-tier Hollywood star in the 20th century. Along with his fame, he possessed a substantial fortune estimated at tens of millions of dollars, which included investments, shares in companies, and real estate. One would think that after his death, this legacy would be divided transparently according to his wishes. However, to everyone's surprise, Gene Hackman's will was according to documents provided by Hackman's lawyer. A few months before he passed away, Hackman made some major changes to it. These changes affected the distribution of assets and also brought up questions about the motivations of those who made these changes. Hackman's will had previously divided assets fairly evenly among his children and some charities he supported, but in the most recent update, a significant amount of the assets were moved to an anonymous fund instead of being intended for Lizzie Elizabeth or close relatives. The identity of the final beneficiary is still unknown, adding another layer of complexity to this case. Why didn't Hackman publicly identify the manager or the purpose of use of this fund if he wanted to leave assets to an investment or charitable fund? Legal experts speculate that this fund was created to hide the identity of the real beneficiary. It is highly probable that someone influenced Hackman's decision just before he passed away, or perhaps even orchestrated it so that he could not change it. As soon as the contents of the testament were announced, there was a wave of intense reaction from the Hackman family. Hackman's children, particularly Leslie, were furious to learn that their inheritance rights had been drastically diminished. Leslie and her siblings got into a heated argument. The will was changed shortly after, and Leslie's strange behavior after her father's death made many question if she was involved in his unexpected departure. Her actions after Hackman's death added fuel to the fire, as did the argument with her father just a few months before he passed away, which some witnesses said was over property issues. Lizzie and her father had a strained relationship for years, so she may have wanted to intervene to make sure she got a larger share of the assets. Upon learning of her father's passing, instead of allowing herself to grieve or remaining to aid in the investigation, she swiftly vanished from the public. What's more, security cameras captured her returning to Hackman's villa in the dead of night to retrieve some documents, but she hurriedly left again not long after a mysterious fire broke out in a nearby area where partially burned documents were discovered, possibly containing the will or important financial records. If Leslie truly had nothing to hide, then why would she behave in such a manner? Plus, she managed to elude the authorities when they tried to apprehend her. Fodder assistance in probing Hackman's will, she devised a web of reasons to postpone divulging details, hired an attorney, and cut off nearly all ties with her relatives. The authorities examined numerous suspicious financial dealings in Hackman's accounts in the days leading up to his death, and it so happened that substantial quantities of money were transferred to accounts associated with Lizzie. This begs the question, was she the one who manipulated Hackman's will for her own gain? And if so, was Hackman's demise a genuine natural disaster, or was there seemed to be some sort of plotting going on, with some people thinking that Lizzie was simply trying to keep her reputation intact by avoiding involvement in the rumors, and others thinking that she was actually involved in some way. However, there were contradictory signs in her statements and actions immediately after Gene Hackman's death, and particularly her abrupt change in her will, which all pointed to a possible conspiracy. After all, if Lizzie had nothing to hide, why wouldn't she cooperate with the police? These questions remain unanswered. Why did she calmly go out to lunch with her sister right after hearing the testaments of her father's death? Why did she destroy documents if she was truly saddened by his passing? As the investigation continues, more and more strange details emerge, leading investigators to consider another hypothesis. If it wasn't Leslie, then who was behind the change in Hackman's? Someone mysterious may have taken advantage of the strained relationship between Hackman and his daughter to manipulate the situation and change the estate in their favor. A final, equally important theory is that Gene Hackman's death and the assault on Leslie may be connected to his own past throughout his career. This tactic is common in family cases involving large sums of money, and it could be used to discourage interference with estate matters. The anonymous fund that Hackman left behind could be more than just a vehicle for money. It could also be used to hide the identity of the true beneficiary. Even though he was only an actor, Gan Hackman was involved in numerous films about politics, crime, and conspiracies. This doesn't rule out the possibility that he had ties to powerful Hollywood figures or even to unseen forces at work. There are numerous tales of famous actors getting entangled in the murky underbelly of the entertainment, politics, and finance industries. If G. Hackman was one of these actors, his demise might not have been a random occurrence in his last years. Hollywood is not only the epicenter of the entertainment industry, but also a crossroads where art and power intersect. Gene Hackman's lawyers, who were with him in his last years, might have knowledge of the legal documents he signed. They might also hold important information about any changes to his will or estate. Security personnel and those who worked for the Hackman family should also be investigated. The camera system was disabled just before the attack. Who could have had access to it? Unless it was an outside intrusion, could someone have? There are still important gaps in this case, despite the collection of much evidence. In the next section, we will examine the next investigative directions and whether this case can be clarified. Whether or not Jen Hackman had any legal or financial troubles before his death, as well as any investments or connections with dubious business organizations, will also be noteworthy. Despite many clues being the investigation into the attack on Leslie Hackman and the unexplained death of G. Hackman can continue in several directions. One crucial step is to review the data from the security system. Even though the surveillance cameras at G. Hackman's house were turned off just before the incident. This will help address some of the unanswered questions regarding the attacker's behavior and the traces at the scene, which suggest that this was not a random incident. Even though the attack has already taken place, the security management company's server or storage system may still have data logs from the incident. This is because in modern security systems, data is automatically stored on remote servers rather than just on local devices. If the police are able to retrieve this data, they may be able to identify the perpetrator and determine whether anyone in Hackman's family or circle of acquaintances assisted with the attack. An essential step in the investigation should be a comprehensive review of Gene Hackman's will and other legal documents. If there are any unusual changes to his financial decisions or will before he passed away, this could have been a major factor in the incident. Another red flag is the conflicting accounts from Hackman's relatives regarding his health. If he did not have dementia, as some have claimed, then someone could have taken advantage of his old age to steal his money. Hackman's external relationships throughout his career are an important part of figuring out what happened and, more importantly, who reaped the benefits of these changes. Hackman was a film actor, but he also had connections in the financial sector and the media. If he had been involved in an independent investigation or had ties to a particular organization before his death, his demise might not have been a natural one. Cases involving prominent figures frequently have numerous hidden facets that the general public is unaware of. Quickly determine if Hackman had really uncovered a secret and planned to reveal it to the public, which could have made him an easy target to silence. Another important part of the investigation is studying the attacker's mental state and actions. According to Lizzie Hackman, the attacker didn't want to harm her, but rather send a message of warning. This could mean that he wasn't acting alone, but was actually following orders. Typically, when someone is trying to intimidate you, they won't leave traces or take excessive risk. Acts to draw attention. If this was a murder, the assailant could have committed the act but chose not to. This begs the question, who had reason to warn Leslie? What did she know or about to know that made her a target? With all the details that have been analyzed, the list of suspects could be significantly narrowed. The most important question is, can this case be solved? There are many unanswered questions, no specific witnesses, and no direct evidence of the identity of the attacker is still a mystery, and many theories have been put forth regarding what happened. However, one thing is certain, Lizzie Hackman is in danger. If she is concealing anything about her father's death, she will most certainly face more threats in the near future. This not only makes us worry about Leslie's safety, but it also suggests that there is a power bent on keeping the truth hidden. Alternatively, this case could fade into oblivion, similar to other enigmatic cases involving historical figures. There have been numerous cases in Hollywood and high society where the causes of mysterious deaths remain unexplained. If the perpetrators of these cases are powerful enough, they could manipulate the investigation to keep the truth hidden. For example, they could falsify forensic results, bribe witnesses, or simply keep the case open-ended. On the other hand, if Leah is determined to uncover the truth and find evidence of her father's death, the case could take a different path. However, there is also a possibility that Seek's justice is more than just a personal act. It's a confrontation with those who will stop at nothing to protect their secrets. Can Leslie discover the truth before it's too late? Will the leads lead her to the truth about Jeannie Ann Hackman's death and, more importantly, who is really responsible for the attack on her? We may never know the answers to these questions, but maybe a new piece of evidence will come to light the case eventually. I am convinced that the truth is still shrouded in mystery, and that those responsible for Jean Hackman's death will stop at nothing to keep it that way. If there are sinister forces at work here, then this isn't a random incident, but rather part of a bigger plot. The key question is, what will Leslie Hackman do? She has the option to stay quiet, accept her fate, and let the past rest, or she can risk everything to uncover the truth if there is anything to be revealed. Regarding her father's demise, her decision will decide everything. Will the truth ever emerge or remain buried in the annals of time? Share your ideas on the matter in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated with future videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next enigmatic tale.